What's happening? Sorry, I was delayed for a second.
No countdown this week. I was having issues getting it going. So I'm excited for this week. We've got some characters joining us today.
Yeah, it should be fun, man. The week went by. Week went by fast. You're in Miami right now, right? You want to give us a view of the window here?
Miami through Monday. I can track and walk out real quick. Let's see. It might be a little bit bright, but right on the bay.
Nice, man. We got It's going to be interesting today. We got John at some resort. Texas trucker is at home outside, right by the small town, post. Yeah, we got people all over today, so it'll be a fun show. Just kind of a little background. Mike Boston, the president of the National Owners Operators Association, had some medical stuff come up today and wasn't feeling well. So the debt collector for the National Owner Operators, the one that kind of tracks down brokers, who don't pay, things like that, she'll be joining us along with Texas Trucker, who leads their dispatch department, owner operator, and I think he's second or third in command. John Rogers, most of you know him, one of LDI's biggest agents, 8 figures. And then Ben Hamm has got a $25 million agency with R&R. So am I missing anything, Will?
No, that's it. Before we get started, special shout out to our sponsors, Sales CRM. If anybody's in the market for a CRM, would highly recommend them. Either go to their LinkedIn page or you can find Josh Lyles. Send him a message. At the very least, follow him. He's got some great educational content. He's a super cool guy. Tell him the dog sent you. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. What I'll do is I'm just going to add the guests one by one, let them do a little intro, and then we'll get into it.
All right, who are we adding first?
Let's start with old John Rogers first.
All right. Welcome to the show, John.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How are we doing?
How are we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm here in Smoky Mountains. It's a Dreammore Resort with my family. They're down at the pool, so I can podcast with you folks for about an hour, and then I'm going to join them.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Good stuff. You want to give the viewers a little bit of background if they don't know you?
Obviously sold cars for 25 years, got pissed off, got out of it, learned, went to work for R&L, which is they're the 5th, 6th largest carrier, worked for their 3PL, worked for them for 11 months, figured out how this was done. Never knew anything about trucking, didn't know anything about trucking other than people drove a truck from point A to point B. Didn't know what a reefer was, didn't know what a dry van was. Figured it all out, went out on my own, fought a non-compete, non-solicit, went out and grinded it out, got me some good customers, and here I am today talking to you fine folks.
Good deal. It's awesome.
Good deal.
Shout out to Elijah tuning in from Kentucky. I'm going to add in Ben Hamm now. Looks like he's on the move.
Yeah. Hey,
Ben Hamm, how are we doing?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
It's going well. I thought we banned you from coming on from your porch after last time.
Yeah, you should have. But it was a lot colder last time. I got a new crazy puppy and can't stay in the office inside. And our office downtown, we lost service this morning. So, yeah, it's a fun thing. I'm sure Will can tell you. It's when you're working on the road or when you don't have your team in there, it definitely makes it challenging. And the communication and trust becomes a factor.
Yeah, 100%. You travel a lot. I think every time I'm talking to you, you're in a different state or at some trade show.
You travel more than Ryan Paul, which is hard to do. You want to give a quick intro, so we can bring on Jayme and Jennifer?
Yeah. Real quick, we are one of R&R's largest agents. I have about 15 people underneath me, and our focus is flatbed equipment, Conestoga stuff. We are getting a little bit into refrigerated, but mainly open deck.
Hey, you just got some Conestogas, didn't you?
Yes, and I actually do. I bought my first trailer, says Hammer Logistics, so if you see it on the road, you know who to message on LinkedIn if he cuts you off.
Take a picture and tag them. Awesome.
That's right.
Yeah, hammer time. All right, I'm going to add in Texas Trucker here. Let him give us a quick intro.
What happened in Texas?
Can you hear us?
You're in, Jayme.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Y'all have to pardon me. It might be a little windy here. I'm outside. I am on the beach in between Beaumont and Houston, a little town called Highland, Texas. Texas trucker at large. I work with the carrier division at NOAA and the dispatch division. I'm just an advocate for truckers. I am a small carrier, Daystar Transport out of Eustis, Texas. We specialize in reefer. We do reefer freight and kind of specialize in hot spot freight day of. So we work with brokers pretty much exclusively. Just two trucks, me and my cousin. We both own and operate our trucks. I just climbed out of my truck. I haven't even washed the road off of me yet. So y'all have to forgive me. But, nice day down here on the beach. I'm going to kick it with y'all for a little while, and then I'm headed to the beach to run some shark baits out and try to catch some sharks this weekend.
You want to give us a brief rundown, Jayme, of what NOAA is? A lot of LinkedIn audience may not be familiar with what NOAA stands for, what NOAA is.
Yeah, I'll give you a little rundown here. The NOAA is the National Owner Operators Association. Started out as an idea, a spark. A few people got together that was dealing with the same issues and had the same ideas and wanted to move forward with helping other carriers, small carriers and owner operators to be successful. We ended up in Washington, D.C., and that's not where we intended to be when we started. It started out as a business association just to help other and to build our own. But, we ended up in advocacy in Washington, D.C. because of the broker transparency. We felt that it was very important, and we still do. We still advocate for it. We just a conglomerate of people that come together and with the same ideas, and we all kind of put together a think tank and kind of do ideals and see what would stick. And then we had a Facebook page with, at the time, I think when we started last March, not this March, but last March, I think we had 26,000 people when I got involved. That was just a Facebook group. This was before the National Owner Operators Association. And we decided to make an association and go national with it. So we've done that, and now we're up to, I think, about 45, maybe 46,000 people in our Facebook group, members, junior members, people that support, and some detractors. It is what it is. You're always going to have that. Nobody's going to agree. We try to agree on the things we can agree on. If we can't agree on it, move on to the next, and let's find out where the common ground is. What we all know, y'all, is there's problems out here in the markets. I can tell you firsthand because I'm an owner operator. I operate my own equipment. I'm a carrier, and I can tell you, in the last 3 years, my income's been cut by 40-50%. It's tough to make it out here, and I know it's tough on brokers too. It's not just the carriers. I mean, it's the economy's bad. They can lie to us and tell us it isn't. But what we know is that the transportation industry is hyperlinked to the economy, and any ups and downs in the economy, we're going to see it first and foremost. We're going to be the first ones affected, and we've been screaming for the last 3 years that, hey, it's here, it's going to happen, it's happening. And of course, we've gotten the story from the current regime, that everything's fine and dandy, everything's better than ever. But if you look at the transportation industry, that shows an accurate picture of where we're at in the economy, and it's bad for everybody. But we believe in discussing, coming to the table, and trying to work things out. That's what I believe in. Let's be professional about what we do, and try to fix the wrongs, because there's a lot going wrong. There's a lot of problems in the supply chain. We know fraud's rampant, skimming, double brokering, carriers, ghost carriers, chameleon carriers. We know we have all these problems. It's going to take us all coming to the table and sitting down and agreeing to work together to be able to fix these problems. And that's where we're at. I appreciate it.
Texas Trucker, when you refer to ghost carriers, can you expand on that? What exactly would you consider the ghost carriers?
I didn't hear you. What'd you say, brother? I kind of got the wind in my ear.
I didn't hear you either.
Those carriers. What exactly
Well,
are you?
I was referring to the chameleon carriers. You know, where a company
They
pretends to be
open one
somebody that
authority. They
they
open one
aren't.
authority,
Yeah,
then have violations, and then open another authority with another guy, and it's his
yeah.
brother, and it's the same people. Then they open another one, and you end up with one guy with 9 authorities, and there's not really enough prevention there. Am I kind of like close on what you're trying to say there, brother?
E- Exactly what I'm trying to say. I mean, it's not exclusive to the carrier or the broker side. I mean, it's happening on both
Yeah.
sides, and it's something that we need to work together on to correct.
Like you'll have a load going, a partial going from Ohio to California, and you got one guy that calls you with 7 MCs from 5 different phone numbers.
Yeah, and 10 different MCs registered to the same address. So there you go.
Right,
Hey,
right, but it's all different.
before we get too far into it, guys, let's bring in Jennifer so we can have the last guest do their intro. I don't want to leave her out there.
Hey guys, thank you for having me on the show. My name is Jennifer. I am the broker fraud prevention and corporate debt collections for NOAA. I'm in the same tier level with Jayme, top 3 or 4 of the company or organization. It's not really a company, organization. I was a driver for 6 years. I've been a logistics coordinator for Williams Sonoma Pottery Barn in West Elm. And I worked for a brokerage doing a track and trace for proving on their on-time delivery. So my husband's been a driver for 21 years. So I've seen the industry from all sides. And I think that's what helps me be so successful in collections and busting
Man,
out these
everybody's
bad
at the
brokers.
beach or down south,
And
and me and Matt are stupid stuck up here up north.
and I live
Holiday
in
weekend, brother.
Mississippi. I live in Mississippi, but I'm actually on my
I should
last
have
day of
went.
vacation
Will,
in
what are you
South.
doing? You getting a table down at
Ben, you need to mute yourself.
Oh, I'm down in Miami, Ben. I'm
Oh,
in
I knew I
Miami
wasn't on
Monday.
mute. That's what do you mean? I'm not saying
Sorry,
anything.
Jennifer. Go ahead.
That's okay. I actually am from I live in Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, but I'm vacationing in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, right now. So
Yeah, everybody's somewhere. Good weekend to do it. Well, good deal. So as far as you guys are kind of referring to these ranks, so how do you work your way up the ladder within the organization? Do you guys do votes, or how does that get sorted? Or
Jamie and I
There's no
both just started at the
really,
ground level.
really. Here's the deal, man. We're a team, and there's no big I in little you. I mean, we all pretty much have the same say, and you know, we put our heads together, and you know, we're the same way amongst us. You know, we agree on the things we can. If we can't disagree, we move along and try to focus on the things we can agree on. But there's no big me and little you over here. You know, we're a team.
I mean, I get that, and I think that's great. I was just you guys had referred to like being top 3 within the organization, so I was just curious if it's an impact. Is it like what you put into it, or how do you guys go about? Like, is there kind of like a hierarchy within the organization? I know Boston's the president, right? And then you guys vote on positions or leadership stuff, or how does that work?
It's more that we just came in on the ground level when it was just forming that and we've been there the longest. So I guess seniority right now, for the most part. But really, there's not, like he said, there's not just I'm over somebody else or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
that I've been there since the beginning.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Jennifer, your role is you're kind of tracking down brokers on not paying. Do you get more into the fraud aspect, or you get into like detention and layovers and getting paid for that, or are you
All of
more
it.
into the bigger stuff?
All of it, any of it. Anybody that's owed money, I help get them paid. Brokers, carriers, factors, freight forwarders, I help everybody to get paid. There's bad players all across the industry, unfortunately, so everybody needs paid. And there's a lot of scam brokers, a lot of scam carriers out there that are, bringing all of this fraud to the forefront. Plus, advocating for the transparency to help have that paper trail to track down and know who are the good players and the bad players. Help with people that have claims, that have detention that they're owed. I asked Jayme. I turned a $2,800 load into about a $10,000 load for him when his driver was stuck under a load for about 7 days in a snowstorm in Ohio. So, I just fight for what's right, what's fair and right across the industry. I try to be neutral. I try to stay Switzerland in all of the discussions and debates, so that they the right carriers are getting paid, the right brokers are getting paid, any of the right parties that are doing the right things are getting paid for the services they're providing. I also
Yeah.
help get guard reports removed when possible. So
No, that's a great service. I mean, especially in this market. I mean, not getting paid is a big problem. So I know that's one factor. And Jayme, what are kind of, you had mentioned earlier, broker transparency is probably that, collecting money, fuel cards, load boards. You guys are kind of in several different categories for owner operators, right? Is there a kind of a main focus, I guess, for Jennifer too, or Jayme, kind of, as we're in
Well,
2024?
yeah, brother. Here's what we said from the start. We're gonna add things as it comes to our attention. We need them. So we're up to like 36 different services that we provide at highly discounted rates for our members, or even just advice. You know what I mean? If somebody needs help and they're not being successful, I've been doing this a while. I dispatch my own trucks. I've just managed companies and dispatched their trucks, reputable companies, and managed them, done all the compliance and everything. So I've been doing it a while. Right now, I mean, everybody's struggling, but I'm keeping my rates where I need my rates to be $3, $4, $5 a mile. Everybody's not created equal, and everybody that comes into this business don't know the business, and I don't know it all. I don't know it all. But the deal is, if somebody comes to us and they need something, then we'll go out and find that service and add it. Because we want to be an asset to owner operators of small carriers. We want to be somewhere for them to turn when they need help. Jennifer collected $23,000 that a broker got us for in 1 week. We ended up, I run McAllen, I run Laredo a lot, reefer freight, and it was peak produce season. We got in with a broker out of Stone Mountain, Georgia, and before we knew it, at that time we had 4 trucks running, and before we got paid on the first load, we run $23,000 worth of loads for this broker, and they turned around and backdoored it with bankruptcy and pretty much stuck us out. But Jennifer got us paid. What the deal was on that other load, we was up in Ohio. I jumped my driver on a holiday weekend down to Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, on a hot load on a holiday weekend, candy load. They had to go. They had to get it out of there. They paid me stupid money from the start on it. Guaranteed me they would unload my driver. My driver got there. The shipper held him and made him late to the appointment. And while he was there, they told him he was going to have to wait until Tuesday after the holiday weekend. And I said, that's unacceptable. We're not going to do that. We'll take it back. And of course, they no, you can't take it back. We'll find a cross dock. We'll cross dock it. No, we can't do that. So we was at the mercy of the broker. But when we reached out to Jennifer, and I give it to Jennifer, we got the ball rolling. Unfortunately, at the same time, when all this was going on, my driver was out of Cleveland, Tennessee, and his mother died of COVID that next day. So my driver couldn't sit there and wait on the load to be delivered. I had to get him home. Family's first over anything. So he was hurt, and he was in the truck, and I would have done. If you wouldn't have got me home, I'd have jumped on a plane and went home. I would have abandoned your truck in a situation like that. So told him, go home. The load will do whatever. Take your truck, jump in and go home. But she got us compensated. We had to go back up there. Another driver had to go back up there and redeliver. But, it's stuff like that, man. It's trucking. Stuff happens. But, when stuff happens outside of our control, it's outside of the broker's control, too. It was the shipper's fault for holding my truck. But, in situations like that, Jennifer, what she does is a great service, and it's something we need. Hold their feet to the fire, and hey, it is what it is.
Will she go after shippers too? When you guys set up direct customers, like what would you do in the case if the person who held you up was the shipper and caused all those problems? but then they're also a big account for you that you run all the time. Situations.
Well, if they're a big account for you and you run with them all the time, hopefully you have a good enough rapport with them that they respect that they were, at fault for holding you, and that you can work with them to get the compensation. I mean, usually if you have a big enough account, you have a good enough rapport with them, you've hauled enough loads with them and built a relationship that they will work with you to compensate you, the broker, as well. If they're a direct ship or whatever, I would pursue them the same way and just say, hey, look, this was something that was out of this carrier's control, and you help them, and how can you help to make it right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they won't come to the table, sometimes they will. It's a roll of the dice. I can't guarantee. I'm Even though they call me the genie in a bottle, like I'm not magic by any means. I can't just make people pay.
Right.
But I do help brokers get paid from shippers that have not, or ranges that have not paid them, and I help freight factoring companies with their carrier clients, since they're getting paid to take care of their money, to make sure that their clients, carrier clients, are getting paid.
Very
So.
cool. Okay. Just curious.
Mhm.
Well, do y'all remember the fiasco that happened up in Pennsylvania? Jennifer, you remember what I'm talking about. The fiasco where they had all them mail loads going up to Pennsylvania, and they stuck all them drivers out in the field without a bathroom or nothing. Um, During the start of COVID, I actually had a truck with a team stuck up there, and she handled that too. And she actually had them fly a CSR out. They flew him out there to handle it after it was all said and done. But they had like 100 trucks stuck in the field with no restroom, nowhere to get nothing to eat in the middle of Pennsylvania. What was the name of that town, Jennifer?
I can't remember
Do you
now.
remember?
No, I don't. No, I don't
But
remember.
yeah, I mean, stuff like that. I mean, we know stuff happens, but I mean, it seems like the drivers always catch the short end of the stick. So when they catch the short end, we're here to try to help them, try to advise them. So that's what Noah's about.
Very cool.
Does Noah? So if you guys are having an issue, Jennifer pursues it. So in that situation, you went from whatever it was to 23,000. Does Noah get any kind of percentage to help like fund the movement or anything, or is it just all 100% going to the driver? Do you guys take anything off of that for the service?
This was a different situation. This was long before Noah. I knew Jennifer long before Noah. When I got involved with Noah, Jennifer was part of my network, because I do have a network. I've got a network of brokers that I work with, that I've been working with for years, that I trust them. They trust me. They give me good rates because they know I'm professional about my job and I'm going to get it done. If something happens, I'm gonna see it through there, and it's going to be professional all the way through. So when I met Jennifer, it was always conducted like that. Before we come to loggerheads, I'm one of them guys. I was managing a company. I would tell my drivers, first and foremost, you never ever get out of a line with a broker. If it starts getting heated, you say, okay, well, I'm gonna have you call this guy. I wanted my drivers to be professional about what they done. You know what I mean? So if it started getting to that point, at that point they was to call me. And if they didn't call me and let me deal with it, and they got out of line with a broker, a shipper, a receiver, they was gone. That's just the way it is. Being professional about what you're doing means being professional. And we know drivers get hot headed. So let me deal with it. That's my job.
Yep.
Jayme, if you had to, it sounds like you're doing well. I mean, $3 to $4 or $5 a mile rates. You're saying you have brokers you've been working with for years. I know you mentioned at the beginning of the show. I mean, you guys are doing a lot of advocacy and broker transparency. Have you had to enforce broker transparency on any of your brokers, since sounds like you're getting paid good amounts and long-standing relationships with them?
No, I have not had to enforce transparency. I get my rate or I don't move my truck, and they know that when they call me or I call them. I got a lot of brokers that if they need it done and they know they have to have it done, you know what I mean? I know when the phone rings that it's something that they need to get done. So,
Do you have
we
anybody that you
we
deal
come
with
to
on a regular
terms.
basis that
I got a bunch of them.
like that, where like, hey, every Tuesday you're going to get a load from A to B, and then do you give them a better rate, or do you pretty much work as like an at load basis? You're not really trying to set up any regular Tuesday freight, Wednesday freight, Thursday.
I run specifically hot spot freight day of. In other words, now if I'm going into a bad area where I know the area is bad, I will reach out and try to pre-book my truck to get out and get a better area. But generally, no. If I'm in a good area,
Okay.
pardon
So
me.
like you wanted like, hey, if I said to you, hey man, I got a regular lane on Tuesday that's gonna pay, like you said, you get $3, $4, $5 a mile. Let's say it pays right at the bottom end of your operating agreement, but I said I could get it to you for 3 months. Is that something that you would want to try to do, or do you think you're more or less still gonna stay with the, day to day, come at me as you may?
It depends on where it was going.
Yeah.
See, there's no one size fits all in this. If it's going to a good area, I'll take it. You're damn right I will. But there's a lot of things that factor into it. Weight, where it's going. How long is it going to be on my truck? That's the things that I look at before I move my truck. Before I dispatch a load or agree to a load or accept a rate con,
Oh, no
I
doubt.
want to
I'm
know
assuming you
how long
agreed
is
to
it going to be on my
everything.
truck?
That's
Where's it
all.
going?
Like if
No.
you agree to everything, and it's Houston to Dallas, and it pays $1,200. I don't know the reefer rate, so forgive me, but
He doesn't know
your range.
anything about reefer. He's
Yeah,
a
Yeah.
your rate. Your rate that you can get on any given day is 1,200 to 1,500, right? And let's just say a
That's
broker like
that's
Will and
that's what I'm
myself.
keying on. 300 to 400 miles, 12 to
Okay.
1,500 a day.
So, and let's just say a broker like myself or Will says, hey, listen, man, I know you can get 14, 15, but I can lock you in every Tuesday for 12 for 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever it be. Would that be something that you would do, or are you the type, or would you thinking right now that you would probably just continue to play it out and try to seek that higher end of the range? So that's like do you
It would
take the
be
sure
something
thing or
that
do you roll the dice?
I understand what you're saying. It would be something that I would be willing to do, except for one thing. When you're a small carrier, when you're an owner-op small carrier and you operate your equipment, and you got 2 rigs, it's
Yeah.
hard to say that I can put myself there every time to pick up this freight. That's the
Right.
reason why. I look, dude. There's nothing I despise worse in the world than being late to pick up or deliver a load. Nothing. My goal is to be an hour early every time, or 10 hours early. That way I can do my break before I start my unload, so I'm ready to pick up the next load. So me being a small carrier, basically I'm a one truck operation. We have 2, but I run my truck 100%. My partner, my cousin, runs his truck 100%. It's hard for me to say when I get to the area you're speaking of that I can get a load out, and I usually run a triangle or a rectangle. So I try to triangulate and do 3 loads and come back. Okay. It don't always work out like that. Sometimes it's 4 loads and come back. But it's hard for me as a one truck operator to tell you that I can put my truck in a specific area. It's damn near impossible, because I need my rates to be where I need them to be for me to make my income and my company to make its income, and for me to take care of my maintenance and everything. So it's really hard for people like us to be able to commit. That's the reason why I work specifically pretty much hotspot freight.
Okay. Yeah, you almost need brokers as a one truck operation or 2 truck operation, because if you don't.
Brother, I need brokers. I love brokers. I have brokers that are close friends. My goal in life is when I find a broker that does his job well, and I run a load and it's set up well and it comes off well and everything's exactly what he says. You know what? The first thing I do is ask that broker for a way to get a hold of him. So I've got a phone list full of brokers' personal phone numbers. So when I'm going to an area, instead of getting on the load board, I hit my list on my phone and I'm calling them brokers that I know are going to take care of me, that I know are good at their job, because not all brokers are good at their job, just like not all carriers are good at their job. So I'm reaching out to them saying, hey, I'm going to be here then. What do you have? Okay, well, let me see what I can do for you. Let me see if I can find you something. That's the way we work. It's a team. And I hauled the first load I've ever hauled for Zengistics, out of Kansas City, Missouri, a craft load of beer. And I picked it up in Kansas City, Missouri. I went to Austin, to Houston, and then to Channelview. and the load was all screwed up. All right. I still got the load off. Everything was on time. Everything was good. But through the whole process of me going to these places, I'm sending the broker information where your address is wrong. Well, this is a really tight spot. Don't send a driver in here that you're concerned with. They don't have the experience to get in here, because it's hard to get in here. I mean, things like that. And he's able to take notes into his, and then the next time he dispatches that load, he's prepared for what he's got going. All 3 addresses, they sent me Turbo as tracking. I prefer tracking. I'll ask them. First thing I ask them, do you track? Well, we don't usually do it, but if you want to, we can. Okay, we'll send it over. It's already on my phone. So they sent me Turbo. All 3 addresses was wrong. But you know what? It's about being a team and working together and coming out the other side and making it successful, and then helping the next man down the road, helping the broker and helping the next man
I'll
down
tell
the
you
road,
this,
right?
from a carrier side, that's a red flag for me. If a broker doesn't require track 24, that operation probably has something wrong with it. I mean, unless you're working with them every day, like if you're booking a load off the spot or any of that, and I said it doesn't surprise me that there's issues, right? Like what do you think, Will? Like what are some of the things that that you guys do to make sure that carriers know, hey, we're not just working with a fly by night, like
Yeah, so if it's a regular, if it's somebody, because I have lots of contracted lanes where I'm using repeat carriers, and those guys, I'm not tracking them because I mean they're texting me, if they're really, we're in a group message with my whole operations team, so it's like 10 of us. If the truck's gonna be late, they'll let us know. We just reschedule it, so we're not worried about tracking them. But if it's a carrier off a spot board, we're gonna macro point them, or we're gonna, if they have ELDs that they'll grant us access to a tracking link, that's fine. But unless it's something regular, we're tracking it. And even if it is somebody that I know and work with, if it's not a contracted lane, I'm going to track it, because if my customer calls me and asks me for a location update, I want to be able to give it to them in real time. I want my dispatch to be able to pull it up and be like, hey, truck pinged here 10 minutes ago, rather than, hey, let me call them real quick. Okay, nobody's answering the phone. We don't know what's going on. And then it's 45 minutes later by the time we get back to them. So, yeah, we track all that.
and a lot of customers
Well,
now, at least that we're working
the beauty of getting the direct contact information, which that's my goal when I reach out to a broker every time, is to get that direct contact cell phone. Okay. Well, I'll update you through text. That way it don't wake you up. And I usually update my brokers 3 or 4 times a day. Hey, I'm at the first delivery. I'm at the second delivery. Or, hey, everything's going good. I'm on time. This is what the reefer's set at.
Yeah,
that's being professional about what you do. And hey, and I tell them off the bat, if you need to call me, don't hesitate. Call me. Don't text me, because if I'm asleep, my phone just dings. If it's something serious, call me. But I keep them updated all throughout the day of where I'm at and what I'm doing. Everything's on time. Everything's good. And I assure them that if something changes, if there's an accident, if the road's shut down, there's a fatality, going to be there a while, they're going to be the first ones I reach out to.
Now, Jayme, I know you brought this up, with answering your phone. I mean, I think that's why you get paid above market average. I mean, you're communicating well, you have built relationships, you're getting, $3, $4, $5 a mile. And I know you've talked about this, which is, great. I mean, do you think that, brokers who kind of do the same thing, who are the good ones, answering their phone after hours, communicating, paying fair rates, do you think there's a set amount they should be making, or is kind of whatever the broker's making isn't really the trucker's business from an operating standpoint?
Well, this is what I've been told, and y'all know Sage, and we've had long, deep conversations with Sage and different people on social media, but I've also talked to these people offline, and he's told me, well, for somebody like you that does the way you do it, I don't mind paying. It's the problem children that don't do what you do that I've got to worry about, that drives down your rates. And that's true. Now, am I saying that a broker should make a specific amount? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is transparency would build more trust in the industry. Now, does that mean a broker should be able to make 40, 50, 60%? I don't believe that. Now, if they're good enough salesmen to go out and get the money on the load that's needed for them to be able to make that much money, and I can still make my money, hey, that's all good. I hear it all the time. Hey, I lose money on you, but I don't have to worry about the load. I got the ones that I got to worry about that I got to spend all day worrying about that I'm making my money off of. But carriers need to be educated. Owner operators need to be educated, and they need to take their job seriously and be professional about what they do.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's several carriers that I'll pay a little bit more just for the peace of mind. So essentially, what you're saying is, so you're looking for the $3, $4, $5 a mile, that $1,200 to $1,500 sweet spot. So if you're able to get your $1,500 rate, what the broker's making is irrelevant to you. So if the broker had $2,500 in it, if you get your number, you don't have a problem with it. Correct, or am I interpreting it wrong?
It's irrelevant to me what they make after I make what I need to make. Now, if I was in a situation where I couldn't make what I need to make, I would be worried about what they're making. Yeah. Now, I have set up. I've got a couple of direct shippers set up that I haven't even used yet, that I have spoken to, not through a brokerage. One of them is in my old hometown. Broker had a load posted on the board, long ship, and I'm gonna tell you who they was. And there's only one facility in my hometown of Kemp, Texas, that ships reefer freight. So one morning I wake up and I'm looking at the load board and I'm at home. You know what the difference is? If I'm at home trying to get out, I'm not in a hurry to leave. So I'm going to get my rate getting out, and then I'm going to bounce around and get back. Well, I call a broker on a lane running from Kemp, Texas, 75143 to Houston, Texas, at a load of watermelons. It was coming out of American Melon. I know the people there. I know people that deal with the people there. So, I'm like this. I don't mind a broker making their money as long as I'm making mine. Well, this morning he has a load, and this was 2.5 years ago. He has a 2 years ago when rates was just petering off. Posted out of Kemp, Texas to Houston, Texas. Load of melons, 42,000 pounds, which runs 55 degrees continuous. Going to Walmart. So I call him. I'm like, okay, well, I'm interested in this load. He tells me, well, this is what I got in the load. This is all I got in the load. And I'm like, come on, guy. It was a ridiculous rate. It was like $1.87 a mile. And I'm like, man, I can't do it for that. I can't do it for that. So I was already sitting in my truck. I already woke up that morning. When I seen the load, I intended to go to American Melon. It was 2.5 miles from my house. And like I said, I have contacts there. So I said, okay, well, I can't do it for that. It's ridiculous. So I left my house, drove up in my truck, in my semi, to American Melon, and went in and talked to the shipping manager. And I'm like, well, I'm local and I'm interested in setting up with you. This is where I'm at and this is where I'm trying to go. And he told me the rates on all the lanes they was paying, and the broker was taking 40% off the load. Long ship was. It was $3.46 a mile before the broker took their cut. But here's the problem: the broker committed fraud, because the broker told me that's every dime I've got in the load. I can't go no higher. That's fraud. I know exactly what was in the load because I talked to the shipping manager in my hometown of the company. And that's what we see. And that's where the problem comes in. I'm like this, man. Be honest with me. Let's talk about it. I don't mind you making your commission, but don't lie to me. Don't bullshit me. I'm the same way with a driver. If you're one of my drivers and you lie to me or bullshit me one time, you know what? Your ass is going down the road. Everybody makes mistakes. You hit something, you do something, tell me, hey, I done this. And we can work through that. But if you lie to me or bullshit me, no, it's over.
Yeah. I mean, so now you say that that's fraud because the rate he's getting. What if a driver tells me that he needs 1,500 to run his truck, but he only needs 12? Isn't that fraud on his end?
Needs or wants, bro. Needs or wants. How can you tell me what I need to run my own equipment?
I don't, but I'm asking, on the same end, if the driver has it broken down that hit to make a profit or to break even, he needs 1262, but he tells you, hey man, I need 1500.
Or even taking it a little bit, framing it a little bit differently. If I'm a broker and I'm like, hey, like I need to be at 1600 for this to work, but say like I have like 1900 in it, so I could pay 17, 18, 19. Like, wouldn't that be kind of? I mean, that's kind of been the inverse of what you're saying.
Yeah, because like we need to pay people and this and that just the same. So I don't know if necessarily that would be fraud. I think it's just just because the rate he's getting, that's on you to get every single nickel out of him, right? I don't think it's fraud for him to say he needs to be at this if he's not. I think that's just more of a sales tactic.
Well,
Well,
It's not fraud.
that day I set up direct with this shipper. Okay, you know how many loads I've hauled for that shipper out of my hometown?
Yeah.
0.
No, that's great, John. John, it looks like you were getting ready to say something about.
No, it's not fraud. At the end of the day, guys, we're the sales force for truck drivers. You can go get your own shippers. I have a right to make money. I have a right, if you want to, if we want to break down things, diamonds are 500% markup, watches are 500% markup, Apple phones are 60, 70, 80% markup. And this is all stuff you can get on the internet. Furniture will kill you. And how I know this is because I had a guy that was a furniture. Now, obviously out of all that stuff, you've got costs. You got to pay for rent and overhead and employees and benefits and all that. So you don't get to keep all that money. It's the same thing with a broker. If a broker makes 30%, 20%, whatever that number happens to be, he doesn't get to retain all that money because we all have costs. We all have operational costs. It's just the way business works. So, so what I make, as long as you get what you get, I can give a shit less what everybody else makes. That's just me personally, because guess what? Profit's not a dirty word, and it's what keeps the lights on. Gross keeps the lights on.
I guess here's another one that's interesting, and you saying that you got set up with them. So what on your end? Because I mean, technically, every broker sends a carrier packet that says you can't backdoor them into a shipper, right? So what's like the ethics on that from a carrier side from your end? So like if you're taking loads from a broker out of a place an hour away and they're paying pretty good, obviously though, it's a broker, so there must be more. How do you handle something like that?
Yeah,
I would never do it.
I did want to give you a heads up.
Let me answer him. I would never do that, and I've never done it, and I never booked a load with this broker, and I've never hauled out of that facility.
I got you. So you just saw it posted. Okay, cool. I got you.
Okay,
yeah, I saw it posted, and I saw it posted, and knew that it had to be where it was coming out from.
Because that's definitely an issue, that we've had, especially in a slower market, where we've had trucking companies, asset companies call our account managers or dispatch team and say, hey, is this, hey, this is so-and-so, we hauled a load out of your facility. And meanwhile, it's not our facility, but hey, this is so-and-so, we hauled a load out of, your facility. What can we do to get set up? How do you think brokers should approach that? Like on our
That's
end?
unethical. It's unethical, bro. And you got in your contract, you have in your contract a do not solicit clause. So with a breach of contract, you have the ability to take that carrier to court and sue them, and you should. Now you also, but here's what you got to understand: you also have more tools at your disposal to deal with the situation than a carrier does, because you have Freight Guard, 411, and in that instance, when a carrier does that to you, you have every right, and you should do that.
So that's an automatic
you
one.
should do that.
Because I know that that's been a topic too on when.
But I've also been I've also been at shippers and ship receivers before, and them asked me specifically, "Hey, what did you get paid on this load?" At that point, am I still under the same no solicitation? Am I supposed to provide the information to the receiver? Because I've had them get spitting mad when they found out what I made off the load and what they paid for the load. Had a load pick up out of Florida going to California. It was sculpture. It was art. I was running Hot Shot at that time, open deck. Yeah. And when I got there, the lady straight asked me, "What did you get paid?" And I told her, it was a partial. So I was able to load something up on the trailer with it. And I told her, I said, I think the partial, which was light, small, I think it paid me $3,500. She paid the broker $12,500 to get it moved out there, and the carrier, the receiver was spitting mad. Now, was I wrong when the receiver asked me? I mean, how does that work?
I personally, because I've had this happen, and that's actually pretty funny that you said that. I would say that I wouldn't disclose the rate only because in some situations it's because your customer may be marking up. Like we had an oversized piece of equipment that the driver disclosed the rate to the receiver. The customer though for us was the person who sold the piece of equipment, and they had put an additional same situation 5,000 on top of it. So the customer saw the broker's rate, the carrier's rate, and then the rate that they got charged. So if
Yeah,
you,
I've
I
got
think it's
some
one of
threads.
those things. If you just keep it out of, just say, hey, I signed a contract and I can't disclose it, that you can avoid a whole massive can of worms. Because the broker is never going to believe you anyway if they say, well, the receiver asked me first. He's automatically going to assume, right, that you were trying to find out how to get in with them.
Jayme, just
One
a
thing,
just
one
a quick
thing,
heads up.
one thing you'll learn about me is I'm honest. I'm never gonna lie. I don't have to bullshit nobody. I'm 51 years old. I'm a grown man. I've been through a lot in life, and I'm not gonna bullshit you or lie to you. If I tell you something, you can take it to the bank. If I tell you I got a rooster at dip snuff, you better lift up his wing. So that's just a little bit about me, man. But it honestly happened like that, and I was kind of in a conundrum at that time. I was running percentage. I didn't own the equipment. I didn't own the company. I was a driver. I was running 25% of the load on a hot shot rig, and the lady straight asked me. She was cool in California. Straight asked me, and then I said, "Well, here's my Raycon. This is what I got paid." I didn't show her the Raycon, but I told her this is what it paid to the truck. Because if I'm running percentage and I'm in that situation, I demand when at that point when the load is booked, I won't accept a Raycon from a carrier. It's got to come directly from the broker.
Gotcha.
Hey, Jayme, I was just going to be real quick. I was just going to give you a heads up. You might just be careful mentioning some of these brokerages with that situation in your town, because some of their reps, it is a little different than Twitter. Some of their companies may be watching this, so I don't want to, possibly, have you say something to get you in trouble down the line.
Just call me afterwards with all the info, brother. We'll be all
Bro,
right.
I've been in so much trouble in my life. You can't put me in no more trouble than I put myself in. I tell the truth, and I've run for Longship. They're not a bad brokerage.
I just wanted to get in here a little bit on this, on the rate disclosure there. If transparency is out there, then anybody that's a party to the transaction is able to get that transparency. So, I mean, if you're disclosing that rate, I mean, does it matter at that point if we are enforcing transparency? I just am curious on that, how that's viewed, because anybody that's a party to that transaction will get that transparency. So I'm not sure that it would matter at that point.
My customers don't care. My customers do not give one rat's ass what I pay a carrier and what I pay. And, we agree on a number, whatever that number is. As long as I provide the service, they don't care what I pay a carrier.
Right.
I can't say that there's any of my clients that care what I pay a carrier. As long as they pick up, deliver, they do the work to be performed. I vet the carrier. They're a good carrier. I do all my due diligence on my end as a broker as I should. They don't care. None. I just paid out of Brooklyn $1.50 a mile. I dictated that rate. I know there's truck setting because I've covered 8 of them today. There's 8 truck, and I put that load on the board and it lit up like a Christmas tree. So when I see that kind of action, I'm going to dictate the money. Lane rates running $2.09 a mile. I offered $1.50 and everybody lined up and said yes. All you had to do is tell me no, but everybody said yes. I covered 8 loads in 15 minutes and I moved on.
Would you have it at
And
5
then-
a mile?
What's that?
I said, would you have it at 5 a mile?
What the margins look like?
Hold on, I'll tell you. I've got to look at do it right now. I made 54.55% margin.
Bang. I love it.
What's that come out to as a number?
I made 3
800
grand.
to
I made 3 grand on it per load.
So
What did the carrier get paid on that?
24,000 today on those loads.
What's that?
How much is that total for the 8 loads? You said 3 each. So
3 each times 8. Yeah.
And I also wanted to say,
and here's the thing: is if because it's all about it. It's a game, guys. Right? This is all game. Sales is a game. So if $1.50 didn't move the trucks, I'd go to $1.60. If $1.60 didn't move the trucks, I'll go to $1.70. I'll find that sweet spot that moves the trucks. I'll always perform to the customer, but I'm going to start low and high. That's negotiation. It's easier to go down. It's easy to start high and go down, but it's a lot harder to go down to be low and go high. So I mean, it's the way you do it.
So, John, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So you do you know and can you tell your customer, the shipper, which is most important to you, that you loaded them loads on good trucks that's going to take care of their freight and be on time and do everything they're supposed to do? Do you know that? In other words, did you vet the carriers? Or are they established carriers? Are they good carriers?
They are. So obviously, my agency does a very good job of that. So this last carrier I booked, while I actually was here on the show for that matter, they've done 147 loads, and I think they fell off one or two. Hold on, I'll give you the answer to that. So I know they're a good carrier, right? But
it was multiple loads. Did you vet every one of them like that? And can you assure your customer that his freight went on the best possible trucks?
Absolutely. I don't mess around with people's freight, and I don't use shady carrier. 99% of my loads don't hit the board. I just didn't have any. My regular guys are home in that Brooklyn area, so obviously they were out of position or at home. That's why they hit the board. But 99% of my freight never hits the board. Ever hits the board.
So the other percentage of the freight you're moving is contracted, basically, or with your established carriers.
Yeah,
are you paying $1.50 or $1.60 a mile?
No, I mean, like I do some reefer loads out of West Virginia. I've got a guy and his daddy. They're the only direct Smithfield. They haul pork for Smithfield Hams. They're the only direct customer or direct carrier that Smithfield uses. Everybody Smithfield uses, a lot of brokerages. They've been doing it for 30 years out of Dunn, North Carolina. I'm their ride back. I texted the guy this morning. I said, hey, I've got 3 loads going back to Selma. I text him, boom. We pay the same. I paid him the same money for 4 years. And I'm his ride back home.
Does hit load boards though, John, right? I mean,
sure. I hit 8 of them hit today while we were down here for the last 2 hours. That's what I've been doing, but not a whole lot of them do.
Why would you put all your loads on the load board? Being how you can manipulate and take advantage of carriers, like you're saying. Why don't you put all your loads on the load board?
I'm not taking advantage of a carrier. There's a difference. It's a supply and demand. So if there's 80 trucks trying to get out of Brooklyn, and there's no loads, and I've got them, obviously that puts me in a better negotiating position. Long story short.
Well, there's 80 trucks in Brooklyn area. It is because you should never run Brooklyn. I don't run Cali or the Northeast, so I'm just
most of my guys that I use on a regular are coming to JFK to catch stuff that's going overseas on planes, right?
John, you got to let me know. I'm shipping brick into Brooklyn every day, brother. I'll get you.
Hey, Will, do you want to read this comment quick? Because it's
look, guys, I'm going to have to get off in just a second. So go ahead with your comment.
Sure.
Sorry, go ahead, Jennifer.
I was just going to say, for the collection stuff, we are contingent, so we ask for nothing up front, and if we're not successful, you owe us nothing. So, we can only help you. We can't really hurt you. So that was one thing I wanted to say. And then along the lines of building relationships, I work with my carrier customers and my factoring customers and my broker customers on teaching them how to prevent double brokered or fraudulent situations. When somebody has a double brokered load they bring to me, I have them pull out their BOL and I go through with them and show them where they may see on there that it's indicated it with a different broker name. I was granted the second instance of transparency from the FMCSA against Uber on March the 6th. So, I do know how to navigate those lanes to get the carrier taken care of when there's a blatantly obvious need for that person to the FMCSA to step in and help. But the one thing I do is I had a guy call me up and he was like, hey, they're not going to pay me my detention. They owe me like $300 in detention from the shipper, but they said they're not going to pay it because there was a complaint on me. And I said, well, what happened? And he says, well, I had a lumber service and they unloaded my truck and they left a bunch of junk in my truck. And I was still at the dock and I sort of left a mess at the dock. I swept it off the back of my truck at the dock and they didn't like it. And I said, well, did you put it in a nice, neat pile and say, hey, this was left on my truck and I don't have anywhere to dispose of this? Or did you have a fit like a 2-year-old and kind of throw it off your truck and make a mess everywhere? And, well, yeah, I was kind of mad. I blew it off with a leaf blower, whatever. And I said, okay, well, next time let's be more professional about it. Make a nice, neat pile and go into the shipping manager and say, look, this was left in my truck. I don't have a place to dispose of this and I've got to go pick up direct behind this. So I left it here, and it makes you look better. I said, everyone expects drivers to be hot-headed and to lose their temper and to not be professional in times. So when we can go there and be the bigger person, it's a lot harder for them to say bad things about you as a driver or whatever. And so I try to help coach whoever I'm working with, whether it's a broker or a factoring company or a carrier, when they bring me something to help make their business better. I had a guy that was like, they're going to put a freight guard on me. And I reached out to the broker and he was like, look, do you see how long my signature line is? He goes, my signature line is that long because I have to address all of these things with everybody because I've had a situation that each of these lines speaks to. And he says, you guys want brokers to have their house in order. Carriers need to have their house in order too. And what had happened was he had a new dispatcher. The carrier had a new dispatcher working for him, and they just didn't update properly. They had a multi-stop right before it, and they kept saying, well, we're unloading for like 6 hours, but they didn't say we're 11 miles away on a multi-drops. It will be there, no problem. And so with no updates, the broker had no choice but to cover his customer and cover that load. So, I try to take that back to that carrier then and say, hey, next time this can be done better this way. I go to that factoring company and say, hey, you see those approved brokers you have? 3 of those are fraudulent on there. Oh, how do you know? Well, this is how I know. And this is how will know going forward so that you don't have them on your approved broker list or whatever. So, it's all about about the teamwork there as well. Trying to help each other out.
Yeah, it sounds like you do a lot to help them on that side of things, Jennifer, and we kind of appreciate you going into that. I did want to read this comment from Elijah. He said, "I'm curious, Jayme and John's thoughts on this. I paid $3 a mile and gotten screwed. I paid $1.75 a mile and gotten the best service I've ever had. You don't always get what you pay for from a carrier."
Amen.
I can feel that, but when you're talking to somebody on the phone, the kind of service you're going to get, and especially if you got that relationship with them. I get repeat customers all the time. I got brokers call me every day and say, "Hey, I need a truck here. Do you have any?" And that's why, because at that point they know how I do business, and they know that I'm going to be about my business. So I understand it. Yeah, all carriers are not created equal, just like all brokers are not created equal. But we need to take the good. Here's what it boils down to, and let me make this point clear. We're losing the American trucker. Is that what y'all want? Is that what brokers want? Is to lose the American trucker? Do you want every accent you hear to be on the phone to be something that you can't understand? You don't know how often that I make a phone call, and as soon as they pick up the phone and they hear my voice, they're like, "Hey, oh man, it's good to talk to you. I want to work with you." Why? Because I communicate well and I speak English. I mean, that's where we're at as an industry. As an industry, what do you want to do?
We got another relevant comment from Alex Bates. He says, just because you are a good carrier doesn't mean everyone is. After swapping from carrier side to brokerage, ... Let me tell you, there's a lot of chuckleheads. He actually works with Ben Hamm here over at Hammer Logistics.
Yeah, I mean, and to really hammer on that and talking about markets and knowing your markets, like right now, at least on the flatbed side, you should be in Western Tennessee, Northern Alabama, Central Alabama, Southern Arkansas. Rates are high. And talking to, on Elijah's comment too, of people are asking you for, $4 a mile or $5 a mile. And then you pull up their MC and they got 6 freight guards, a carrier 411, all this other stuff. You definitely don't always get what you pay for. I mean, not at all. And like on Alex's end, I think he was very, very, very surprised to see, because obviously everybody has seen how he felt about brokers. But once you get, shoe on the other foot, you start to really see just how many. I mean, for every guy like yourself, Tex, there's 99 other guys who don't know what they're doing, who,
But
you say they sound good, but
Hammer,
somebody might just be
but
a smooth talker.
Hammer? Why should I suffer because
Oh,
of that?
I'm not saying you should. I'm just telling you, like, just addressing his comment is
The
one of those
American
things that,
the American trucker is suffering because of this. That's what I'm
I,
telling you.
I mean, I would say, you know, I've been I've gotten shit service from people who speak great English and no English. And I think that to generalize it, I don't really know if you can say the American trucker, because yeah, they are, if people are trying to replace you, but they're trying to replace you with AI and automation more so than anything long term.
It's really a
So,
work ethic
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
more than an
Don't
ethnicity.
even get me started there, brother.
It's
but
really
I
a work
mean,
ethic more than it is an ethnicity.
right,
But
but in essence what's
they're
coming.
trying to replace you too. They're
Oh,
trying to
absolutely.
replace Matt. They're trying to replace all of us with AI. Do you think the trucker will go before the broker goes? No.
Um, we had a comment earlier on automation. I'm going to try to
So
pull it
so
up.
so 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 how do we fight this? We come together as an industry. As my livelihood depends on you,
I
your
mean,
livelihood depends on me.
to,
So
to
we
try
come
to fight
together and we fight this together.
AI though, there's industries bigger than trucking. Like, fine, that'd be like going to everybody in JP Morgan and saying, hey, they want to
And
embrace it and get rid of 80% of our jobs. We need to rally against AI in the banking sector. I think it's one of those
Is
things that
it,
as
it
brokers we
okay?
need to embrace.
Let me ask
I
you
don't
this.
know.
Let me ask you this. Is there industries more important than trucking?
Right. I mean, on a daily to day to day basis, we absolutely need trucking, and I don't think they're going to switch to anything until it's proven that there's going to be no drop. But to think that one day I mean, is it going to happen tomorrow? No. There's 2 million trucks on the road you have to replace. But in 20, 30, 40 years, one day it's going to change.
I mean, I disagree with that, because if you have AI driving a truck, AI is driven by
Yes.
what? Computers. It's so, can you imagine having all these computers driving these trucks, and then somebody happens to be driving along beside them, and what do? Drop a virus on that truck, and now you've got an 80,000 pound
Hey,
weapon, basically.
Hey,
I'm on your side, and I wish it would stay like it is, because for a broker, right, that's better. Like you just said, it's coming to replace my job. But I think we have to embrace it, and even in trucking, planning routes, optimizing routes. I think there's a lot of companies that are starting to be able to minimize. You don't have a bunch of mediocre dispatchers. You have a couple, and then you take that data and you can put it in an AI and help those people dispatch more trucks on a more efficient basis. What do you think, Will? I know you're really big into automation and everything like
yes.
that.
So I want to speak to this. So there's a big misconception. AI and automation aren't necessarily the same thing. Automation can have AI principles, but automation in itself is not AI. So we do leverage some automation, pricing, appointment setting. There's lots of things that you can do with automation to improve human
Right.
efficiency. It's not here. We don't use it to replace people, right? Like I'm not replacing an employee with a computer. I'm using the
To make them
automation.
more efficient.
Exactly right.
Right.
So
Mhm.
there's use case, and it is, man. And we've always prided Black Box. It's a Southern company. We're Southern principles, real people, not tech forward. But as of late, we started implementing some good stuff. There's a really good comment.
Say hi. Hey, y'all say hi to my wife, man. This is my wife. This is Miss Anderson.
Hey,
Hi,
good.
That's
How
my
you doing?
7-year-old
We
daughter.
got a comment here for Texas from Alex Bates. Blame the bad carriers, not the brokers. Blame the truckers hauling $1 a mile and doing a bad job. Open your mind, Texas. What are your thoughts on that for the drivers hauling
Hold
what
on,
they're
hold on.
Jayme, mute.
Let me read it because I didn't hear it. No, let me read the comment because I didn't hear it. Blame the bad carriers, not the brokers. Blame the truckers hauling when they're on. Okay, just because you can do something don't mean you should. Fair business. Now I won't haul that freight. I won't. I'm not going to do it. You might be able to find somebody to do it,
All right, we
but
got a
I'm talking about it an overall of the industry. Because we're a team. Remember, back to the start when I told y'all, me and my brokers, we're a team. We work as a team. I tell them what I need to haul the load. They agree to it. I haul the load and I get the job done. Team.
Awesome. We got a comment from JJ here. He says, "Love automation. Can't build a house without tools."
I wanted to get into too. I mean, I think it is a team. I mean, when brokers screw up, and I don't know. I think Will and Ben may disagree with me a little bit on this, but I paid $500 layovers. I felt like if a carrier,
Jayme, can you mute,
screwed me,
please?
I was fine. I let some carriers have it sometimes, but I was also, when I screwed up, I wasn't sitting there and saying, I'm going to give you a $150 layover or, this, you're stuck without this. I think you got to be fair on both sides because it is a team, in that sense.
Yeah, I don't think that Ben and I would necessarily disagree with you. I mean, I'll just speak for myself and my own operation. We do value carriers and we want repeat carriers. I mean, the goal for us as an operation is to use the same carriers over and over and over again to get away from load boards. We want to
I'm talking about the dollar amounts, Ben. I'm talking about the dollar amounts.
Well,
you're not doing a $500 layover, are you?
I am. Minimum.
I paid $500 layovers. I paid carriers a lot of money.
I have brokers that pay me $500 layovers.
That is our standard. Yes, for a full truckload, it is $500 a day.
Okay.
Well,
I'm running a reefer. It costs me $75 to run my reefer for 24 hours. It costs me another $75 to idle my truck to keep cool or run my APU. It's $150. So here's the reality. It costs me $65 to $70 a day to survive on the road. So if you add $70 a day for me to survive, that's probably finding parking because I paid for parking last night and I hate paying for parking. $18.98 it'll fly in Janesville, Texas. By the time I take a shower, which is $18, my fuel account now I get showers. By the time I do everything I do a day, less fuel is about $250 a day. So if I sit there a day and you pay me $250, I've made zero. And I have my own company. My truck has made zero because I burned that. It is a problem. There was a time when tariffs. There was a time when the carrier had a tariff. Okay, so the carrier's tariff was superseding any other tariff because me as my own business could set down the rates for my accessorials. So when my tariff was engaged, then you had to abide by my tariff. But the Motor Carrier Act of 1980 and the dissolution of the ICC in 1996 done away with our tariffs. The only tariff that's binding anymore for a carrier is in household goods. So, in other words, when I end up in this situation and I'm stuck, not because of no fault of my own, because I wasn't late, I was there on time. I went to a delivery today that for a year they haven't been first come, first served. It was appointment only. Okay. The broker told me, well, I'm glad my customer told me, acted like it was the first load they hauled for him, but he hauls 2 a month out of Kansas City, Missouri, craft beer. Do I believe that? No, I really don't. So when I got there to my last delivery out of three deliveries, my last delivery, when I pull in, they're like, you don't have an appointment. I'm like, it's first come, first serve from 8 to 2. I was here at 9:30 a.m. They're like, no, this is an appointment facility only starting a year ago. Do you want to try to tell me that the broker wasn't aware of that?
Was the idea
now they got me on. They got. I have no idea. I have no clue. They got me unloaded because I went in and I worked my magic. I talked to them. I said, well, this is what I was told. This is what my rate con says. I don't know. I've already made 2 previous deliveries. I live 82 miles down the road. I'm trying to go to the beach and go fishing. Played the good old boy card because it was the truth. And they said, well, I can't tell you when I'm going to get you unloaded, but go ahead and back into the door one. So I was there 2.5 hours and they got me unloaded. There was it was showing 4 stops on the load. It was actually 3. 2 of them unloaded at this facility. All right. So they come out and got me out of my truck, beat on the side of my truck and said, hey, somebody's freight's loaded in front of mine. I said, no, it all goes here. So they had to get a manager to come up and tell them, it does all come off here. So this is what we deal with.
Jayme, hang on. I got to dip,
as
guys.
carriers.
Thanks for the time. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah,
Thanks,
so much
Jennifer. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
Thank you, baby. I love you.
Yep. Thank you. Love
But
you too.
this is what we deal with as carriers. What determines the outcome of what we deal with as carriers is how we approach it and how we deal with it. Right? Do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
So I could have went in there. No, hell. I had a perked up, and I could have done that, but I didn't do that, right? So I go in there and I tell them, I said, well, look, this is what my paperwork says, and it is what it is. I'm not tripping. I'm not in a hurry. I'm 82 miles from the house. So they said, well, I'll go ahead and put you in door one and I'll get you unloaded when I can. Hey, that's fine. I'll go take a nap. And then when I get done, I'll go home. So it took me 2.5 hours to get unloaded. So I saved myself the hassle, the receiver, the hassle, but I also saved the broker, the hassle, right? Is that worth something?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I'm glad you brought up too. I mean, the situation. I was laughing because that's how some brokers are with that situation. Are you finding? Do you think that you should be paid? For first come first serve for detention. I mean, that's an interesting topic. I mean, if you're at a facility.
I got a broker that I work with regularly that I haul out of Queen, Arkansas for out of Pilgrims. So last week, but no, it was 2 weeks ago. Pardon me, it was 2 weeks ago because I've been out 2 weeks. My time runs together because I drive my truck. I'm the manager of my truck. I'm the manager of my company. I drive my truck. Just a minute, babe. My wife, I just got home earlier, y'all. So I book a load. I complete the load. The broker tells me up front. Now this is a broker I deal with. Tells me up front that it'll be ready at 6 p.m. and needs to be there by 6. So I arrive at 3 p.m. to load the load. Okay. Well and good. I stop. I wash out my trailer. Get everything ready to go because I'm not going to pull into a facility. Hold on, my daughter just hit her head. I'm not going to pull in. Let me see.
Busy man.
Hey, let's while you're
I got 7 kids, bro. This is my baby. This is my 6-year-old. I got 7 kids from 33 to 6. Oh, 7. She just turned 7 May 1st.
We got a good.
You all right? I'm sorry. I'm on mute, Mom.
No, you're good. I was saying we got a pretty well thought out comment here. It's kind of cut off. We'll read what we can. It's from Layla. She says, I love that you're seeing the other side too, Alex. And yes, we're on a different point here, automation, et cetera. But to quickly circle back to the trucker broker issue, there's room for everyone in the industry, and we're all needed in the sector. But what our good trucker here just said is true. Just because you can does not mean you should. Pushing profit margin to the 40-50% mark is making close to the same dollar amount for the lane as carrier. It cuts off there, but I think that's a good point. I think that, on both sides, there's going to be people that aren't doing things the best way, right? There's room for improvement on both ends. I think what we fall into is kind of this us against them mentality, brokers versus carriers, carriers versus brokers. That's not very productive, right? So it's always nice to align with people that are kind of solution-based and trying to work together. You see it a lot on the spot boards. Maybe like somebody calls in aggravated and it just turns into button heads. It's, man, we're on the same team. We're trying to move freight. I want you to make money. I want to make money, So I think that's important. Things we can do a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about work. And you can lose customers. John's one of the few I know who gets those margins. But like the story Texas was sharing and numerous stories, we were actually the shipper we had on Wednesday told that exact same story.
Let me drink, please.
push high margins, are you really having that good of a relationship, with the shipper? John's kind of an exception to that, but I would be worried about losing a customer, if I ever pushed, 40% margins.
Yeah. I mean, I think that goes back to I can hear John in the background almost saying it's customer dependent and everything else, because the 40% margin to you, depending on what you're shipping, if they know that they can depend on you to get it on time, if some other guy's late, that downtime could be 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, depending on what it is and what you're delivering. Crane back charges by the hour, an a manufacturing line goes down. So it goes back to, and I'm looking at Alex's comment, there's nobody regulating Apple or Nvidia or any of the other companies. And if you start regulating profit and everything else, then what's the point of really having anything? Let's put it all on a cloud. Everybody set a set fee and go from there. So that's just my end of it from my side. But also, at the same time, yeah, I mean, you're in danger of losing a customer, like you said, Matt. But if you bid a contract that was 2 years and you bid it at 5% and now it's at 40, I don't think you should, you shouldn't give it back or feel bad. You're locked in. Going back to the same as always. Get what you can, and it's a relationship based thing.
But
John,
sometimes you do the right thing, so when the market flips,
Well,
I've heard
I don't know
talk
if that's
about this.
necessarily the ethically right thing. That's just a smart business move.
Yeah,
If
it's a
your
smart
customer is
business move.
competitive and you're charging 1,700 on a lane that's now going for 11, yeah, you're going to probably lose that, because out of the 300 calls, at some point they're going to say, "Oh, maybe we'll try this guy for way less." But if you have a customer like John, who they're delivering lunches, what do you do, John? USDA stuff. They're not going to take a chance on that, because if they lose their contract, how much money are they out?
Well, and the way that works is I get my orders in advance, and they have delivery EDD dates. And if I don't make them, then there's fines associated with the farms. They don't let that happen. I make it happen. I lose
Right.
money every now and then. I don't lose money a lot. It's about averages, but I mean, I look for certain kinds of business. I don't chase what everybody else does. I have a certain type of business.
So
that I
you're a
chase.
niche. You're a specialized.
Right.
Agreed.
That's a whole different
do
ball
not-
game. We're talking about
yeah.
general freight, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't.
he is a
I'm very
specialist,
niche.
Texas, you're right.
I don't want to play in the same sandbox and go after everything everybody else is chasing.
I agree with that.
Well, let's put in perspective. Sage was in a space last night. Sage come in and said he got paid $90,000 to move one load, but he wants to compare that to general freight. So I asked him some questions, and the questions was, okay, well, he moves some. Most of his freight is specialized, which we know specialized pays specialized money. Local plays local money. That's what we know. So he's $90,000. But I went to the carrier and asked what the carrier needed to move this load. It was 55 foot long, 14 high, and overweight. So
Must have been 7 million pounds.
it was. I think he's talking about the Egyptians.
I mean, there's just not that much regular freight. I think that people are getting those 30, 50, 70 per, it's not like it was where you call a shipper, they say, "Please give me a truck. I don't care about the rate." If you're hauling water bottles, they have 3 million people. There's just they don't care what truck you are or how nice your truck is or this or that, because it's a volume game for them, right?
Yeah.
And like
all
John said,
right, Hammer. How would we know? How would we be able to come to a conclusion on this and know?
Well, go
49
look at the
CFR
commodity.
371.3. Whoa!
Here's
I'm
a good
speaking.
comment that's relevant.
49 CFR 371.3 is how we would know.
So John,
Because right now we don't.
Great. He adds value in so many other ways. That's why he has those margins. That was the comment left.
Let's talk about 49 CFR. So are you a proponent of that, Jayme? You think more carriers
Yes, sir,
should be
I am.
forcing brokers to show the rate cons?
No. That's I'm not saying more carriers should be doing that, because I don't do it. but I'm saying it's a law, it's a regulation, it's a CFR. So if a carrier comes to you and requests that, or if you as a broker go to a shipper and request that, you're entitled to that by law. There's no gray area there.
Wait, a broker's
No
entitled
gray
to that
area.
from a shipper? I did not know that.
Yeah, the CFR states specifically anybody that's a party to the transportation of a load. So it could be a shipper, it could be a broker, it could be a carrier, it could be an owner operator. Anybody that assisted in moving this load is entitled by law to that information.
But here's the thing with me, I don't really care. I'd show you what every load I have because guess what? It's still my load. And if you don't like my price, we can just not do business. For me,
No,
I don't
I
care if you
understand
look
that.
at
I
every
understand that.
every single rate that I charge.
Okay, I understand that, John. But at the end of the day, if enough carriers seeing that you're being predatory in what you're doing and taking 40, 50, 60% of the load, it would put you out of business, brother.
I'll never be out of business.
Because
I promise you
another
that.
broker would take your freight because you would not be able to move your freight. Because if
Sir,
I see you're taking 60% of it, whoa, listen to me.
I
I'm speaking.
I do a lot more than just A to B. There's a lot of stuff you don't see on
One
the
at a
back end.
time.
I negotiate pickup
If I
allowances for
seen
my
you was taking
clients and all kinds of other
60% out
stuff.
of a load, if I seen you was taking 60% out of a load, you know what? I wouldn't haul a load for you.
What about out here?
That's your prerogative.
If John has 5,000, he says he'll pay you 3,000. So say you're happy with 3,000. Does it change the amount? Whoa, never mind. If John has 5,000, he says he'll pay you 3,000. Does it change the amount he's willing to pay the carrier? Does you knowing the rate matter? What are your thoughts on that, Texas?
Sure.
What happened?
After the fact. After the fact, 48 hours after the load's delivered, when the transparency comes into fruition, 48 hours after the load's complete, it wouldn't affect the load, so it would affect the free market, the fair market. What it would do was give carriers the ability to say, well, they took 50, 60% out of this load. You know, brokers are a tight community. Look at Reddit, right? So carriers are a tight community too. And it would put the predatory brokers out of business, right?
So would you qualify any 40, 50, 60% as predatory? Or what would be the
That's not that's not specialized. Yes, sir, I would.
So JJ is saying in a broker agreement you sign off your rights. I think he's referring to the rate.
CFR.
Oh, okay. Your rights, a federal right. Okay, so 49 CFR, the codes, the rules and regulations that was put in 1980. You cannot sign away your rights to a right, a law that was put in by Congress. You can't do it. That right there is a contract that's null and void on its face.
And I actually agree with the old Texas man there. There's probably some truth to that. I mean, brokers probably put it in there.
It's 100% true.
Yeah, brokers probably just put that in there because a lot of carriers are ignorant of the law.
It's a non-binding contract that fucking refutes federal laws, rules, and regulations. It's non-binding. You can't do it.
And I'm going to agree with you there, but still, at the end of the day, it's my business. And like I said, I don't. If you called me and I said this, so I'm not going to say, if you and I were in a negotiation, I'm not going to say the stuff that these other guys say. Well, this is all I got in the load, or I'm going to take a loss. I wouldn't say any of that lies. I tell you, this is all I'm going to pay. And if we do business, great. If we don't, you're not going to hurt my feelings. It's just business. That's what I'm going to say.
Do you know what my brokers tell me? Well, I don't have that in the load, but let me go to the customer. and
yeah,
they go to the customer. They go to the customer, or maybe they don't. I don't know what they do.
They do not go to the customer.
Never.
We
They
already
put you
have
on hold.
we have already got a number that we've already agreed to.
They pay me my rate, bro.
Well, that's great, but they're not taking a loss. I promise you, they're not taking a loss. They might tell you they're taking a loss, but chances are it may be 1 out of 10 on that hot load and the carrier fell off and you got an hour to move it. That maybe, but overall
And
they're
then
not.
at that point,
They're going to be out of business. They will be out of business.
At that point, you call me because you know I'm gonna get the load done and I can get there in time, right?
Sure, and it happens all the time with me. I mean, Facemeyer Foods out of West Virginia. Sometimes I get in a pinch. I don't like his rate. I do
will
not like
go
that.
to West Virginia. It's a dead market.
Well, sure it is. Sure it is. There's only three reefer loads out of West Virginia, and I control 2 of them. But the point I'm trying to make is me and Doug Facemeyer are good friends. He is a retired senator from the United.
Would you pay me a good rate to come out of West Virginia, because I can get good rates going to West Virginia.
But here's the point I'm trying to make with that.
Are you going to try to pay me $1.50 a mile?
Here's my point. I use Doug Facemeyer when I have to. I don't use Doug Facemeyer every time. So if I get in a pinch, I call Doug. I pay his rate. He wants $3 a mile out of West Virginia, and he's got a lot of connections. He's been doing it a long time. But if I can't get it covered, I pay Doug's rate. If I can get it covered for $2,
so at that point,
two and a quarter.
At that point, you're co-brokering the freight, right?
No, I'm not co-brokering the freight. He's a direct carrier. I'm a direct broker. I'm giving it to him the freight. Yeah, it's a carrier.
So what is y'all
spilling
on co-brokering?
Yeah, if I have to pay 3, I pay 3. So it just slims my margin down. But if I don't have to pay 3 and I can pay this other guy 2, I'm going to pay the other guy 2. It's just business.
You're making 60% margins. So why would it hurt you on a couple loads to move it?
That's
what you said, wasn't it?
So
who was that said that?
So there are certain customers I make higher margins that are more specialized freight.
Okay.
But as a blend this month, I'm doing about 33%. As a blend this month, I'm doing 33% across all lines of business.
That's still a little high.
Well, no, it's not. For me, I think it's a little low.
I'm sure you do.
Exactly.
What is your overhead?
My overhead?
How much do you pay for? How much do you figure you pay for load to get that load moved? I'm not talking about the carrier. I'm talking about what does it cost you to get that load moved?
Internet, phone,
Wi-Fi.
What does it cost me as a carrier to move that load?
I have no idea.
Expenses. John runs an agency, but that parent company has operating.
My truck is 6 to 6.5 gallons a mile.
Sounds
and
like
fuel
you need a
over in West Virginia. No, I got a good truck.
Well, I mean,
I'm always on time, bro.
So I have a client that has.
So how much is fuel in West Virginia right now?
I have no idea. Don't keep track of it.
About $3.80, $4 a mile.
That'd probably be safe. That's high threes. I'd probably agree with that.
Okay, so between my truck and my reefer gets 6 miles a gallon. I mean, my truck gets 6 miles a gallon, and my truck burns. My reefer burns idling about a half gallon to a gallon an hour, depending on what temperature I'm set in. So you're looking at about $8 or $10 an hour for me to run my reefer.
So let me ask you a question. Why does your truck only get 6 when I have a client that I'm in her trucking business every single day, and she's got trucks that get anywhere from 8 to 12, 9 to 12.
Is she running LTL, light load?
No, 42,000 pounds.
Okay, well, fuck, I got an old truck. I got a 2013 model Freightliner Cascadia with ISX with a 10-speed.
So you
I run a manual truck.
So you could buy a new truck and get better fuel mileage. Would that be a safe assumption? Can we agree on that?
Are you going to loan me the money to do that?
Sir, I'm not a bank. I'm a broker.
Yeah, I know you're not. I know you're not, but I'm a bank, right?
No,
Texas,
sure,
your friend Sage joined the chat. He says, "I told you so." Texas.
And then he says again, "I told you so," with several exclamation marks.
I didn't know
I love
Sage was
Sage,
on
man.
YouTube.
Me and Sage has spoken. We all these people. You know, here's what the deal is with Texas trucking. We can disagree. We can disagree all day long. We can talk about it. We can discuss it. We can agree to disagree. I do my shit a certain way. I'm professional about what I do. I'm a professional carrier. I'm an American trucker.
I respect that,
And if
Texas. I mean, you
for
do.
me for me to do my business and for me to do what I need to do, I need a certain amount to do what I do, plus a profit for my company, plus my driver pay because I'm running my truck.
And I
And
respect
if
that. And
you're
I
not
and,
wi-
and I re-
if you're
and I
not
respect all that.
if you're not dealing with that, you're going to be talking to somebody from overseas, from Pakistan, or a driver that you can't understand that's not going to answer your fucking phone call and tell you where he's at. That's not going to track. That's your
So
choice. That's
so that's
your
it. So
choice.
that is the 2 and number 3 questions that I ask. Does a driver speak English and will he answer his phone? If I get a no to any one of those 2 questions, I move on. So I want to
Well,
I
let's
want to
work
do
together, man.
I
Let's
want to
work
do
together.
business
But
with a
I'm not.
guy like you.
Let's work together. But I'm not going to move $1.50 a mile freight.
Well,
It
and I
takes
don't.
$3 a mile, all miles, for me to move my truck.
Well, I get that, but see, here's the thing. Um, I don't have freight in your lanes. Actually, I do. I do some USDA. Are you close to Houston?
I live in Houston.
All right, I do a
82
lot.
miles out. Now,
I pick up. I
do you
pick up,
want some connections that I can get you freight in these lanes? I can give you
buddy.
that.
I got more business. I turn more business down than I need. I got to
Damn,
turn
you're
business
just a
down every day.
monster, bro.
So I'll tell you
I
what.
do
But
too.
I'll call you
I
the
do
next
too.
time. I'll call you the next time I do an Alpha Foods out picking up out of Waller, Texas. Then I go pick up bread in Arlington, and
Waller's about 36 miles, 46 miles from me.
I pick up at Alpha Foods there in Waller, and then I go to Arlington and pick up bread, and I take it to Lexington. Next time I have one, I'll call you. We'll see if we
Give
can do
him $3
business.
a
Not
mile,
going.
John.
I
LinkedIn
don't
wants
run
to see it.
Kentucky.
What's that?
I don't run Kentucky.
Well, we
I'm not
can't
a
do
portion of
business in.
Kentucky.
That's
I don't run
a
Kentucky. I
Texas.
don't run California, and I don't run the Northeast. I don't run the East Coast. I
Okay.
pretty much my lanes consist of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and then if you can pay me enough, I'll go to Georgia.
Hey, we got a good question from Fred here.
All right,
What
what we
does
got?
it matter where the driver is from?
Hello, Fred. How you doing, brother? I love you. Fred's my friend.
So I'll answer. I'll start out this. So obviously, I'm not racist in any way, shape, or form, but I've got to be able to have a line of communication in case something goes south. And if there's a language barrier with the driver, we all know that there are a lot of dispatchers out here that work 9 to 5, like there's just a lot of 9 to 5 brokers. I'm not a 9 to 5 broker, so I expect if I'm picking up loads tomorrow, I have business tomorrow that I'm picking up. If that dispatcher's off on vacation or off drinking margaritas or whatever because it's a holiday or the weekend, I want to be able to have that driver to talk to me. And so I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak Hindu or any other language. I speak English. So that's why I always ask the question, does this driver speak English? If the answer is yes, my next question is will the driver answer the phone if I call? If that answer is yes, then we're in good shape. If I get a no to any one of those 2
call me,
answers,
bro.
I move on.
Call me.
On our end, I'm looking at Fred's comment. For me, it doesn't matter, but I know for a lot of our shippers, and I think Will can attest to this too, especially in the flatbed industry like U.S. Steel, a lot of them have basic requirements to be able to read and write English just because of the signs and the safety concerns. But if a driver's able to speak English, then I don't care if they're from India, Pakistan, or Pittsburgh on the
Absolutely.
north side.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. I
Now
think
drivers get
it's more about the
Whatever
communication.
makes you the most money,
It's all
right,
about
bro?
the communication.
now.
Whatever makes you the most money, right?
Now I have
No,
drivers that
I think that's
won't let
unfair
on
because
site.
I have a friend from Chicago with 150 trucks, and the
It
majority of them
may
are
be
from.
unfair, but it's probably the truth.
No, but there's 150 guys, and they're all from the Ukraine and Russia, but they all speak English. What's
There
wrong
you
with
go. No
what's
problem
wrong with
whatsoever.
them?
Are you speaking about Super Ego that's been under investigation for the FBI for 2.5 years?
No, I'm not. I'm talking about a very reputable reputable company called PIC Logistics who does a great job, and I'm friends with the owners. So I think again, if the driver doesn't speak English, no, I can't have them on my freight for safety concerns. But if the in
Are
terms
they
of
running?
service,
Are they running a ghost ELD?
no, they're a very reputable
Do you
company
know
with
this? Do you
yes.
know they're not doing that?
Yeah, we're hooked up to highway and everything else. I'm an agent as well for R&R, $1 billion
Oh, so you
company.
got access to their ELDs. That's another issue, right?
I mean, that's highways. That's not my, my thing. That's highway and the other compliance.
Oh, I know.
But that's again, I would use them. Like if they have a truck, they're my first call. If
There you
they're
go.
around, I'm sending it right to them. So and it doesn't matter,
Are they your first
anything on
call
that.
because you know they're going to do a good job, or they your
That's
first
right.
call because you know they're going to do it cheap
Because they're going to do a great job.
for a cheap price,
Money's
right?
irrelevant.
No, it doesn't. Listen, as long
No,
as the
no, no,
price
no, no, bro. It's not. What you
they
just
do
said
it.
earlier. What
Wait,
you
look at
just said earlier contradicts what you just said just now, bro.
no. I
He
mean, you can
texted
look
me
at
he
the
doesn't
comments.
pay attention either. It's a big problem over there at Hammer.
Yeah, we don't pay attention. You can ask Alex about the calls and the rate cons he sent revised for that. So,
So here's Alex talking about Hammer. He says, anyway, shout out Hammer. I joined a team that pays carriers above operating costs, cares about carriers. After 2.5 years of seeing what others do in the worst market in history, I'm happy to be rolling with the best.
yeah. So
Like I said, stay safe, Tech. So there's
Go get something
we
to drink.
we don't judge by where the owner's from or anything like that. We strictly go off of service, and because
Mhm.
that's what we ask our customers.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and it
Say,
has nothing.
brother. Say, brothers. All of y'all. Look, we've been in here. We were supposed to spend an hour. I said I was going to stay 20 or 30 minutes. I just climbed out of my truck. I ain't even washed the road off of me.
Well,
I'm gonna
thank you,
have to
Tex.
duck. It's been an hour and 36 minutes. Let's do it
No
again, man.
problem.
Let's come in. Let's do this and let's talk about it, man.
Agreed.
Let's correct the problem.
we
Thanks
There's
again.
appreciate
problems.
you on.
There's problems, right? Everybody here agrees there's problems, right?
Yeah.
Yep, I can say
Yeah.
that there are.
Thanks
We'll,
again for
we'll all
coming,
work together.
Texas. I mean, it was great
Thank you.
having you on, and you were, I think that's the cool thing, having people with different opinions on, having, a respectful conversation, and yeah, we really enjoyed having you on.
You can't learn nothing or gain nothing by echo chamber, bro.
Agreed.
That's where we're at.
Agreed.
I'm
So
with you. Sage, we
it's
got to
gonna
bring
take
Sage on next time.
Nah, me and Sage. I like Sage. Sage likes me. Sage wants to work with me, but I don't do this kind of freight. But I just, I'm a general freight guy. I'm an operations guy, y'all. I'm an operations guy. That's what I do.
Wait, thank you
I'm a
guys. I
trucking
gotta get
company. I'm a
running
truck
too.
driver.
All right,
I'll
man.
see you guys.
But
Appreciate you on, man.
my wife is on my ass, man. It was good meeting y'all. Good talking to y'all. But I got to jump off, man.
All right,
Thanks,
later,
Let's do it
Texas
again,
trucker.
man. We had a great show, man. Let's do it again.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks,
for coming on,
Texas.
man. We enjoyed it. All right, Texas. Appreciate you, sir. All right.
John, enjoy the pool.
Got any final thoughts?
Well, I was in and out. I had to, like I said, I had to cover one there at the beginning. I had a truck fall off. He's like, they had a forklift which would have still fit. It was a step deck load, and he's like, can we pick up one instead? So I was like, nah, but I paid you for two. You're going to do two. So then I had to recover that real quick, which was like a shark fest, man. I mean, the phones were just blowing up. But
Yeah.
3 minutes later, it was.
You look locked in over there. You had it on mute, but I could see you typing and everything. Yeah, freight never
Oh
stopped.
yeah, freight never stopped. I mean, and that's the thing. And so, bottom line is obviously I don't chase what everybody else chases. I learned a lot bit about this business. I do, I negotiate pickup allowances. As I mentioned earlier, I, there's nothing that's going to get by me for the most part. I answer 24/7. I sell it, but I don't sell it and it doesn't happen. I sell it and I live it. I had a client that asked me, actually to fly to Brooklyn the other day, and I was on the golf course, so I couldn't do it. But, to say, hey, man, I can use your help. Will you come up here to Brooklyn? I mean, that just makes you feel great, So I told him about, obviously, I can't do it. But, there's, I just don't chase everything. For me personally, I don't chase everything that everybody else does. I don't look for the transactional business. Some of it is. I got orders that I punched in this morning for loads that come out in June because food production is planned. chemicals as planned. I've got some chemical loads to pick up in July. I've already got them ready to do. And when you've got, and Matt, mentioned this, him and I talked last night. And he's like, how do you do this? I just plan ahead. A lot of what I do is I plan ahead. So if it's like Matt and I were talking, he said, you probably wouldn't survive when he was doing when he was a broker and he was doing this 2-pick, 3-drop fish stuff. And the guy calls him at 3:00 in the afternoon and says, I need this picked up at 8:00 tonight. Could I do it? Absolutely. But is it the way I want to do business? No. So, and I'm honest with the customers that way. Like if I had if a customer called me, said, hey, John, I found you, you're a guy I want to do business with. And we talked and he said, but 80% of my freight comes out of California. I don't give a shit what it pays. I'm done. I don't care what it pays. I'm not messing around in California. The language barrier, the shadiness, and the fact I go to bed at 7:30. I'm in bed at 7:30 and I'm asleep at 8:30. And I read and stuff for about an hour. So I don't, it just doesn't fit. So I don't chase everything that everybody chases. You know what I mean?
A lot of carriers want to work with you after we've had a lot more carriers come on the show today.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, guys, enjoy. Like I said, we're going to go down to the water park tomorrow. Then we're going to go see a show on Sunday. This is only about a 2-hour drive for us. And that's to be able to come up here and do these things with my family. I got to thank my clients. Several of my clients, they're in the wings. They don't, they're clients here on LinkedIn. I thank them every day for allowing me to move their freight and to believe in me, believe in my company and what I do for them. We're all replaceable, but you're less replaceable if you perform and do exactly what you say you're going to do. What the goods you sell on that phone.
Question before you go?
No, I can't see it. No.
He asked what do you move. He says for chemicals, you're his guy. He wants to see if he can partner with you.
Absolutely. So from the chemical side of things, I move a lot for Brandt Chemicals. So they're a large ag company. So I move a lot of their company. I move a lot of chemicals for them and then their sister company. Also have an international company out of Japan that I move chemicals for. We do a mix of their products and then they also buy products. So I move a lot of stuff that is blind shipments. So I do a lot for those folks. So I move a lot of MMA, PIB 128. So I do a lot of chemicals. Brand, I do a lot of nitrates that goes in the ground for fertilizer. So magnitrate, copper nitrate, magnesium nitrate. So a lot of that, and a lot of that temperature controlled sensitive stuff on the nitrates. It can't get below 55 degrees. If it does, it calls what they salts out. It gets really hard in the totes, and then what happens? So send me a message on DM on LinkedIn. We'll see if we're a good fit, and if we are, great. And if not, if we're not a good fit, obviously have a network of other folks that I refer business out to. I don't take any money for it. I'll refer them out to other LDI agents that we may be a better fit.
So, well, thanks again, John, for coming on and enjoy the water park.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Enjoy, guys. Take care. God bless, and be safe, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, John.
Wow.
That was a long show, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. My neck is starting to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, we went over by about 45 minutes. It was a good one, though. It was a lot of good stuff in there.
I think we should talk about this, but doing something like this on Fridays with the more carrier element. A lot of these comments I'm looking are people came over from Twitter to hear this show and aren't normally on LinkedIn. So if we can try to, maybe Fridays, have carrier brokers. Seemed like a lot of people were interested in this topic, and not everyone agreed, but it was a respectful for the most part, conversation.
Yeah, no, I like the big group. I think that's great. I'd like to start doing more of this on Fridays.
Yeah, it was a shout out to our sponsors too, Sales Dash, HD, Trio, Black Box, I guess.
Yeah, Black Box.
Should be good, man. It's hard to believe it's a 4-day weekend. We'll have an announcement coming, but we got another shipper. I think you guys would really like this one coming on Wednesday next week. And then we'll probably, what do you think? We'll do 2 shows next week too, Wednesday and Friday? Or
yeah, I'm sure we've got one scheduled for Wednesday. We'll make an announcement. I'm sure that we'll do something similar to this on Friday. So yeah, be on the lookout. If you're not already, go follow the page, 2 Dogs, 1 Pod. We are on Spotify, Instagram, good stuff. We'll link it all, but follow the page, turn on notifications. I appreciate you guys for tuning in today.
What are you gonna do tonight in Fort Lauderdale?
I'm going to the Hard Rock Casino with JJ and his wife at 8. So once we go off this, I'm gonna get ready and I'm leaving.
That'll be fun, man. Enjoy and don't lose too much money.
No, hopefully we're gonna win.
All right. Well, have a good weekend, man. Enjoy Florida, and yeah, we'll see you guys all next Wednesday.
All right. See ya.
All right, see you.